Hey everybody, welcome back to another special episode of The Stack with my pals across the pond, Gat Vivek and Vanessa Morgan. And today we're going to be featuring some of the amazing films of Nico Mastorakis, Greek filmmaker. And can we call him, what should we call him, an exploitation filmmaker? I mean, he does kind of...
prolific filmmaker.
He's definitely prolific. And he definitely traffics in that kind of action, comedy, basically, you know, for American viewers, like Cinemax. Cinemax. There was like a late night kind of like, you know, low budget stuff that you would see on cable, no names or like one or two character actor names. And then there would be a bunch of fresh faces and a lot of explosions and helicopters and naked women and bloodshed and things like that. And that was kind of like the recipe for low budget filmmaking in the 80s and 90s. And Nico Mastorakis definitely trafficked in that area, but he's kind of notable because he's one of the few Greek filmmakers to venture into that and also make their way to Hollywood for a short time, at least, before he came back home and on his home turf did things on his own terms. Garrett, one of the reasons why we're talking about this is because you included two of Mastorakis' films in your infamous care package. You included Zero Boys and The Wind. But the other reason is that we're going to be showcasing Mastorakis' work at the Offscreen Film Festival this year. Is that correct, Vanessa?
Yeah, that's true. Not just Nico Mastorakis' work. We'll only be showing normally one or two films of his, but we will be doing an entire retrospective of Greek exploitation and genre cinema, which already really started in the 60s and 70s and has become really important now with the Greek weird wave since 2009. And so the idea is like to go back to the roots of this exploitation cinema, especially because it's not very well known outside of Greece. And many of these films are almost impossible to find. So it will be quite unique to see these on the big screen. And yeah, one of the only people or directors that anyone knows outside of Greek is Nico Mastorakis. But there are so many more genre filmmakers, except that, yeah, we don't know about them outside of Greece.
Garrett, how did you come in contact with Mastorakis' films for the first time?
I'd heard about Island of Dead since forever, and kind of held off on watching it. I don't know, some pre-imagined bias that it was not gonna be my thing.
The poster art back then was pretty awful.
Yeah, pretty off-putting. Yes.
With the extreme close-up of the guy's face with the mouth open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in more recent years, I just dove a bit into his filmography, and I think the first things I started watching was The Wind. Bloodtide, and by his filmography I mean both as a director and producer. I started watching more. I got the taste of it, and you could see, like, whenever he's directing or producing, you can see you're watching a Mastorakis film. And you asked in the beginning, like what do we call an exploitation filmmaker or whatever? I'd say he's the king of Greek genre film cocktails.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Because I was looking through his filmography, and in addition to the 4 films we're going to be talking about, a lot of these are available through Arrow Video on Blu-ray, but also on the streaming service Tubi here in the US. And I know that they're available on Arrow Player, which is a streaming service that Arrow Video offers. So, because they really embraced his work, they've put out several of his films individually and also a box set. But yes, The Wind was included along with Zero Boys in the care package. And, was The Wind kind of the first one you came to outside of Island of Death?
I think so. And I sent those two because they're kind of like more horror oriented as opposed to the other genre cocktails mixes he did.
Yeah.
And then actually the one I wanted you to watch, I didn't send, I think, Nightmare at Noon.
Yes.
Again, because of the mix of genres.
He's not like a horror filmmaker. Like he
Nope.
is as you say, he's a genre filmmaker. He's somebody who is leaning into those elements, but he doesn't do straight ahead. He does kind of a mix of like action comedy or action horror or horror sci-fi or it's like he's really kind of like, as you say, a cocktail. He's mixing things up a bit.
I would definitely not call him an exploitation filmmaker, except for one single exploitation film that he made. But all the rest, I would really not put that word on his career, actually.
And why is that?
Yeah, of course, Island of Death, that is an exploitation film for sure. But the other ones, I don't really see it that way, because they're more for a general audience. I believe they're quite straightforward. And okay, in the beginning, especially of his career, there was some nudity, but not that much compared to real exploitation movies.
Right.
There's also less violence or horrific violence than in most exploitation films. I think they're too kind to be, and not enough nudity to be called really exploitation. They're really for mainstream audiences with a love for thriller and sci-fi.
I would say he knows how to exploit commercially viable genre elements in all his movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's what he comes up with. And that's also what I started liking about his films, is like you never know what he's going to come up with next in terms of the ingredients he's going to mix in one single movie.
Right.
Part of the appeal and the amusement and the entertainment of it. So
we referred to Island of Death a couple times already, but kind of its notoriety is that it ended up on the Video Nasty list, BBFC,
and for good
issued
reason.
in the late 80s. Absolutely. There are some movies on the Video Nasty list that don't necessarily deserve to be there. Island of Death absolutely deserves to be on the Video Nasty list. Not that there should be a Video Nasty list in the first place, because we're all, adults who should be able to choose what movies they watch and don't watch.
The following movie is rated PG.
Will it end this way? Do I have a chance? Oh, God, give me a chance.
Can you call it love? Can you call it love? Can you give it name?
It's a dead end, my friend. End this way? Do I have a chance? Help! Please help me!
Island of Death, 1976. That is the first one that really brought him notice. It wasn't his first feature. He had starred in Greek television. And Vanessa, I think you have a little bit of his background in terms of his origins.
Yeah, so he's from Athens, and as you say, he really started in television, both as producer and a host. And back then, he was really like playing along with the political game over there. So you have to know that in 1967. there was a military coup in Greece, and that changed really everything. And from then on, because the military took over, there was a lot of censorship. You couldn't do whatever you wanted. If you were going against the ideas of the military, because they were really, really afraid of communism, they will put you in jail or really like torture you and everything. So it wasn't a good time. And back then, at the beginning, Mastorakis was really playing along to be able to work. And then after a while, he decided, especially with Island of Death, to do his thing, because that's when, around that time, that a lot of these Greek exploitation films got made, but especially under fake names. Because people really wanted to do something different. They wanted to keep creating, but really like be like honest filmmakers and not like being fake for politics' sake at that time. And so what I think is brilliant about the fact that Mastorakis made Island of Death, even it was just with the idea to shock people and to make money, it was equally for him a way to continue being creative, to continue making movies. And it was kind of like a way out, a ticket to another life, even though you can see whenever you watch his films that he really loves Greece. It's just whenever he makes movies set in Greece, it's really like an ode to love to his country. But at the same time, it wasn't really a good life there back then. And so for him, it was making Island of Death was a way out and a way to really make a career and do something with his life and still be honest in a way.
Yeah, Island of Death is, the story goes that he had seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that inspired him to do something that would be truly outrageous and notorious, that would get his name out there as a filmmaker to take note of. And he definitely accomplished that, even though he's not necessarily aping Texas Chainsaw in terms of
not at all
style or story or anything like that. But I think Texas Chainsaw gave him the freedom to say, I can do cinema that assaults the viewer, something that really is provocative and brave, as you say, especially under those circumstances. And it's amazing that, you know, it did come out of that kind of conservative atmosphere, but also makes total sense, and that it found an audience outside as well.
Yeah, indeed. But it was really a smart move on his part. And right now he also says like he's not really like proud of the film because of its content, but at the same time he's proud of it because he could really like make so many other movies after that.
Yeah, it was a means to an end.
Put him on the radar of so many other producers and filmmakers and the audience.
I would rather say it was a daring and a bold move instead of smart. I don't know, because this could turn out wrong for him to come out of Greece with such a film or try to make it. But like in his own words, like Vanessa told his history in his own words, I think he mentioned like, I had to divorce with television. So he divorced from television. Indeed, he saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre and he was like shocked and appalled. I'm probably also excited by it because it gave him the ideas to make Island of Death. And if I'm not mistaken, he really wanted to not ape or imitate, but be more shocking and offensive. So they like, what ideas can we throw in there to offense and shock? And
he really made like a very, very long list of everything that could possibly shock the audience, and he picked the worst ones and put them all in a film without many pauses between everything shocking.
When you see the film, it's like that thing starts and it's almost one thing after the other.
It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster of nastiness.
It's like what they say about car or train accidents or whatever, you can't look away. You just, you're like a tourist watching the disaster unfold.
It's also true. I told it, I said that to Gert a couple of days ago. when you watch Island of Death, be it now or 20 years ago or whenever, you will remember the film. For so many other films, sometimes you say, oh, did I watch it? I think I watched it, but I can't really remember. I'm not sure. No, if you watch Island of Death, you will remember the film.
Yeah. I'm gonna do my just to read the opening sentence of my review from back in 2013 when Arrow released its Blu-ray. This glorious masterpiece of prurient behavior gleefully dances across every line of good taste laid out by polite society, and then goes further. Incest, public telephone booth sex, adultery, homosexuality, murder, rape, bestiality, and that's just in the first 20 minutes. So yes, it is there to make an impression right out of the gate. And then for the rest of the movie, you know, we kind of learn that we have a sociopathic American named Christopher, it's played by Robert Bailing, and his British, quote, wife, Celia, played by Jane Lyle. And they are working their way through the populace of the small Greek island community of Mykonos, doling out their particular brand of punishment for those who are, you know, going against, quote, God. And that's kind of the premise for the movie. But it really is, as somebody pointed out, it's a series of set pieces where we get to see just awful things happen. And because they like to record their exploits via camera, they take pictures of it. I really noticed this most recent viewing that you get that click and like the end of a roll, the motor sound. It's like we almost get like little chapters. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that gives the audience a chance to breathe and be like, okay, whew, all right, now here comes the next one.
But it's also, I think, really creative and kind of beautiful to watch.
Yes.
I mean, you can say a lot about the fact that the film is really disgusting and it's just a succession of murder and mayhem and disgusting things. But it's really well shot. The locations are incredible. It's the murders and everything that happens is super creative. It's not just like a bad film. He's really doing something special with it. It's kind of like a good filmmaker, but with a really weird subject matter.
I think what you also mentioned, Aaron, with the how they use the camera is a creative idea that really works. And he figured it out at the start already because it keeps on like reoccurring in the narrative. The use of the camera, the clicking on the sound. In that sense, I mean, it's like you could kind of see that he was discovering how to make a film and how to make it work. And in that sense, also, it's a big improvement over his first film, Death Has Blue Eyes. There, he really was trying to figure things out. And this is more consistent in style. The shocking nature and the contradicting beauty of the locations is a constant throughout the film.
It's daylight horror, its own aesthetic. But I agree, Vanessa. I think it's a gorgeous film. And I think it's a very accomplished film, especially for such a new filmmaker.
Yeah,
like he really is very confident in his vision. Yeah. Especially when you think about the fact that like his heart wasn't necessarily in it. Like he was trying to do something shocking, but it wasn't like he's a natural provocateur. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm always amazed by this movie. And I will say it's still my favorite Mastorakis film.
Same for me. Yeah.
Because it just comes at you from a completely different angle than we're used to. All the creative kills are predating, the slashers and things like that. Like it just feels really inventive and confident. It feels like this is somebody who's trying something out, but they feel like they've already thought it through. And I think the performances are able to sustain it, even though they are a little uneven at times. They seem to fit.
Especially when Mastorakis himself is playing a little part.
Exactly. He has a cameo that he had to step in for an actor who didn't show up. Yeah. And it's clear that he's not confident. Although I do like the fact that he seems awkward. And I think that works kind of in he's Greek, doesn't know how to speak English very well. And is like, I feel like that works as that character. That this is somebody who's struggling for lines because they don't speak English.
Well, a lot of the characters in there are a bit out there in terms of how they are, what they do. So he fits in kind of a bit awkwardly there.
Yeah.
I also said in the beginning of this podcast that Island of Death was the one film I was aware of, even without knowing who Mastorakis really was. But I held off watching it for so long because I honestly thought it would be a trashy movie. Like, something didn't appeal to my taste about it without knowing what it was. And now I saw it for the first time, like, I think a good year ago, from start to finish.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yes. And what I felt and saw was a film that it's up there with the 70s exploitation cinema, but more towards the genre that gave us Last House on the Left.
Yes.
House at the Edge of the Park. So less in terms of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or The Hills of Ice. And in that regard, it deserves to be up there because it pushes the envelope on so many levels. And also, it's like there's like you said, a sense of aesthetics and creativity, good ideas in there in terms of filmmaking itself, even though done on a very low budget with limited means. And at some point, also with the cinematographer, they use like wide angle lenses, and there are a couple of violent scenes. I'm thinking about what they do to the gay couple. Yes. What they do to the older middle-aged woman.
Yep.
When you take a couple of shots out there and watch them, it almost feels like Kubrick's Clockwork Orange.
That fish-eyed lens, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and also the violence for violence sake that he portrays in his. That gets portrayed in the film.
Well, there's even a point at which one of the characters is singing in the rain. Like, I think that is a deliberate callback to Clockwork Orange. I'm really glad you mentioned Last House on the Left because I could not help but think of Wes Craven as somebody who is an intelligent, articulate filmmaker who goes and makes this supremely trashy film because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to provoke the audience. He's going, how low can I go? What can I do that will really impact an audience and give them something they've never seen before? Because there are scenes in Island of Death that you've never seen before anywhere else. Great. I mean, it's groundbreaking, and then nobody bothered to go back and break that ground again. They're like, nope, that's good. He already did that. Beheading by bulldozer, you bet. We're done.
Drowning by white paint.
Yep.
After crucifixion.
Yeah. Vanessa, how did you come to Island of the Death? I don't think we've talked about that.
Oh, it's always the same story with me. At a certain point, I went to a lot of flea markets and I bought every horror movie I could find that I hadn't seen yet. And one of them was Island of Death. So I watched it on an old grimy VHS cassette, and it instantly marked me because, not just because it was shocking, but also because it was just so well made.
Right.
And then a funny story is that 4 years ago, I think, I was in Mykonos.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking like, okay, but Island of Death takes place here. So I was watching Island of Death while I was in Mykonos again. And I remember being in my hotel room and I could see the exact locations of the movie while I was looking outside. So I was constantly like looking at the screen, looking outside, and I could see all those little wide alleyways and the windmills and everything. And that was really, I thought, quite special to be there and really like see it in real life.
Yeah.
Also taking place on the screen.
But that was one, I was working my way through all the video nasties. So it was the video nasty list that brought it to my attention. That's why I was seeking it out. And it did not disappoint. Unlike you, Garrett, I didn't seek out his other works because I was kind of like, I don't want anything else to touch this one. Like, this is Mastorakis to me. And it's interesting seeing his other films because they're much tamer. They're much, as Vanessa said, they're much more for kind of like the general population that's just going to have a good time. I think his other movies are good time movies, whereas this is the ultimate bad time movie.
Yes.
The like his 80s output is more like mixing the genres to serve the genre fans what they commercially would like to see.
Yeah.
Island of Death to me was like, I told you, I watched it, I guess around Christmas, last year, a year ago.
It's a great Christmas movie. Did you watch it with the family?
I'm not sure my
Gather
family
everyone
is ready for
around.
that. My family is not ready for that, I think. No, but the point is that I did watch other Mastorakis films that made me aware of what kind of output he did in the 80s. And like I had seen The Wind, Bloodtide, Nightmare at Noon, Zero Boys. And that's why I felt like, okay, now the time is ripe for me to go. Let's see how he started.
Okay.
And because of that, Island of Death and Death Has Blue Eyes, I watched it around the same time. So,
what did you think of Death Have Blue Eyes?
Humble beginnings.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I saw
beginnings, but really fascinating. It's not a boring film. I think it has a lot of qualities. I really love how it mixes genres with supernatural and giallo and everything. But is it perfect? No, not at all. But it's quite interesting still.
I think in that first feature, I mean, not made for TV movie, you can see where he will go in the 80s. Because of the genre mixing, there's a lot of things coming back, like a bit of flirting with the supernatural, bit of action, conspiracy plots, killings, and nudity.
Yeah,
there you have your cocktail, and it's gonna return throughout the 80s and the 90s in whatever he does.
Which is something I think is also quite interesting to mention. I'm just thinking about it now, that the supernatural is not something that is done a lot in Greece. You have a lot of violence and exploitation, like the giallo genre is really popular there. Horror in general, even some sci-fi, but not really the supernatural.
He went the sci-fi route too, a little bit with the time traveler.
Certainly that. Yeah, and Nightmare at Noon, which we'll be talking about in a second, that definitely feels like an 80s sci-fi action movie.
At the beginning, when I was watching all those Greek exploitation films, I was thinking like, why are they so feminist? Because it's always with like badass female characters. And you kind of see that also in some of Mastorakis' films, but not to the same degree as with some other Greek exploitation films. And I thought about it quite a lot, because it didn't seem logical to me that these movies would be so feminist, especially because Greece is such a patriarchal society.
Right.
But then I was thinking like maybe it is logical, because the people back then were really feeling like underdogs. They didn't have much to say. And like having these women who were also the underdogs in society in Greece, like have the upper hand. I think it's like on a subconscious level, it resonates with most people to give the underdog like a voice and to say like, yeah, you're going to win, you can have your revenge.
When I was watching Island of Death again with you also, Vanessa,
Mm-hmm.
I wondered out loud, like, what's the history with Mykonos? Because that film kind of like seemingly shows that there's a gay community going on there. And I wondered if there was a certain history, like in real life
apparently
also.
that's the case, but when I was there, I didn't notice any of it. But I have to say, I wasn't there during the summer months, but I was there like end of November, beginning of December. So there were no tourists there anymore, or hardly. I think I was one of the only ones. And so, yeah, I didn't notice anything about the gay community or the hippies. But apparently, yeah, it is part of it.
I think Mastorakis said it in one of the interviews also, that it's a place that attracted a bit more liberal people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's clear that Mastorakis is a film fan, and you can see his influences. But I also think he has a vision of his own. It's interesting, watching it the other films, because it does feel like kind of a pastiche of other filmmakers that he's putting through his filter.
Doesn't really feel like a Mastorakis film, actually. Island of Death. If you compare it to the rest of his...
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Also, even though it's almost a vignette film, like, one shocking thing after the other, you do have the protagonist that really grab you and you loathe them, but you're fascinated by them. They're not likable, to say the least.
Right.
And
No, not at all.
there is something hypocritical about them.
100%.
I mean, there is absolutely food for thought in it too, I would say.
So moving on to our next film, The Zero Boys, but we'll talk about this in companionship with The Wind, because both of them came out in 86. And both of these are the two films that you included in the care package. I want to talk first about The Wind. What was it about that one, Gut, that you were like, I want you to see this? It shares some similarities with Island of Death in that we have that same kind of beautiful showing off the Greek islands, etc.
I'd say very little similarities aside from that, because it's a very different film.
Absolutely.
But I was also when I saw that, I was going through a bit of like getting to know Wings Hauser in movies. So that was like, I saw The Carpenter, I saw Mutant, and stuff like that. Vice Squad?
Vice Squad, yeah. The only film which is actually good.
I sat down to watch it because of the cast with Megan Foster, I think.
Meg Foster, yeah.
Meg Foster, yeah.
It struck me as atmospheric, and the locations again is like, okay, it's a bit different than what you would expect from your average American film coming out around the 80s, during the 80s. So does that answer your question? I was like, I want to send you 2 Mastorakis films, and those I happened to watch around that time that we met, and voila, that's the ones.
Well, I think both of those films combine elements from established genres, in that, we have the mad psycho terrorizing somebody in a house. We also have a supernatural element with The Wind. And then Zero Boys, we have like, kind of like grown-up Goonies. And then we have, a slasher film, basically. So it's like you're that cocktail that you were talking about, like there's a deliberate mixing of these two things that Mastorakis has affection for.
I wanted to give you a taste of the cocktail.
He's a real cocktail maker. Yeah.
This place is like a ghost town. Where is everybody?
Do you believe in ghosts?
I've never seen one.
Neither have I. But at times like this, I feel them passing by. Ghosts, shadows, memories of the past. The wind can be very dangerous at this time of the year. Don't go roaming around at night.
I didn't introduce myself. I'm Sean Anderson.
I've never heard of you, but glad you're here. You been exiled or something?
I'm finishing a new book.
Romance.
I'm into murder.
So am I. How about this wind, huh? If I were you, I wouldn't go out in it because it can be a killer.
I want to make an urgent call to Greece. This is an emergency, goddammit.
For God's sake, just look around. You think I hallucinated this? He tried to kill me. He's already killed 2 people. This is real. Believe it.
Vanessa, when did you see The Wind?
Also around the same time when I was in Mykonos, actually. I watched it for the first time when I was there, again, because I was trying to watch as many Greek films that I could find back then, while in Greece. And I was instantly struck by the location again, which I thought was a really interesting pick. The location is Monemvasia, which is part of the Greek mainland, but more like a peninsula. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous location because it's built on a rock and it's made entirely out of stone. And it was also the main location for Bloodtide, which was written and produced by Mastorakis. So these are the same locations.
Got it.
And what I thought was also, apart from the beauty, is also really interesting about it, is that it's a town that is only inhabited by apparently 15 people. I'm sure it changes from time to time, but around 15 people. And so it makes really sense that when Meg Foster is there, that it's an empty town, especially if she goes there when it's not a tourist season. It makes sense that she's all alone there. And it's also a place that there's only one causeway to go there, to Monemvasia. So again, you just can't go in and out whenever you want to.
And he also establishes that isolated setting at the beginning. So she knows when she will be in peril, it becomes twice as dangerous because there's no help coming anyway. So Meg Foster plays a writer who I believe wants to retreat to the island to write new books, leaving her husband or lover back in LA, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And there she rents a house from the owner of the island, a wealthy old man.
Played by Robert Morley.
Yes. A gentleman, apparently, according to Mastorakis on the set.
Yes.
But he kind of goes to the background in the story, and we learn that he has a helping hand, played by Hauser, who's, lost more than a few marbles, I would say, which becomes clear very early in the film already. Within the first 15 minutes, he kills old man Morley. And then we know that things are going to get worse for Meg Foster.
And of course, it's a place with a lot more wind than in Chicago.
Yes.
Because now we got the human interactions, but then the film is called The Wind, so it's kind of it's a character in the film, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's played out very dubiously, vaguely, mysteriously. And that's what I kind of liked also throughout.
There's no real explanation for the wind, it's not like some angry spirit. Not that we don't learn what the wind is all about, but we know it's present. And I think Mastorakis had said that while he was shooting Bloodtide, that he was just aware of how much wind was present, and so he wanted to replicate that in a movie.
Well, he did ordered onto the set all the wind makers he could find in Greece.
Yeah.
It's a bit artificial, but also you can imagine a location. There will be dangerous winds. And the only thing that gets established is the old landlord does say, do you believe in ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
Because, the whole wind and they come and go and it's the victims who might have died here. And then he also said the wind can be your friend or your enemy, which gets played out in the end.
I think when it comes to atmosphere and location, it does a really great job. I think Meg Foster is great in it. Is it scary because it's about a serial killer? No. And we can thank Hauser for that. Because I think he's the least scary serial killer ever in that film. And apparently Mastorakis has said that he was really heavily on drugs and has some serious psychological problems back then. He's really overplaying it completely. And when I was watching the film, I just pitied the guy. So he's definitely not scary. And
come on,
it's kind of sad because I think it's a film with a lot of potential. Because of the setting and the atmosphere is so good, it has so much potential. And then, Hauser makes it like a funny film after a while. And that's a pity. We also mentioned Vice Squad before from Gary Sherman. That was the first film in which I saw Hauser. And I thought in that film, there he was great because there was so much rage in him in that film that he got to play out. And there I thought he was scary because it worked.
Vice Squad, the real story, the true story. Coming soon from Avco Embassy Pictures.
Meg Foster, Wings Hauser, Robert Morley, David McCullum, Steve Railsback. The wind will blow your mind.
Well, one of the things for this film, because I enjoyed it, but I also feel like it feels padded. It feels like it should have been maybe a lot leaner.
Yeah.
Because we spend so much time wandering around. We spend so much time with the wind. We spend so much time following Wings Hauser being nutty and then disappearing for a while and then coming back. And I was like, I just feel like if we could have squeezed, wait for it, the air out of it, it would have been a much more successful film.
Yeah.
Because Vice Squad, Wings Hauser's used so well, so judiciously. He's not the main character. But he comes in and he delivers these scares so much so that when they did that clip show Terror in the Isles, Vice Squad is not what I would consider a horror film, but Wings Hauser is a great scary horror villain.
It's kind of difficult to compare the two films because they're so different.
Yes, but I'm just saying his performance. I feel like his performance as Ramrod versus his performance here,
very different.
I could see why Mastorakis cast him. He'd be like, okay, you're going to bring that scary factor, and instead, like Vanessa, he just feels a little loony and off the rails, and certainly unpredictable and scary in that regard.
But he could faint any minute if you see him in that film. I don't know. That was my impression.
He's got the little bottles to sniff from to keep him going.
His little methyl nitrate.
Incorporated into.
But I also had the impression that, I may be wrong, but I had the impression that Mastorakis mainly made the wind to be able to film in Monemvasia and to use that location. I think it was just like, I want to make a film there, and let's find a story that would fit that location.
It's definitely an asset, the location, because that makes me continue to watch it also.
And Bloodtide as well. Yeah.
Well, so I didn't mind wandering through the streets when nothing was happening.
Right.
I didn't mind.
For sure.
But it's true that it's better than a simple cabin in the woods setting.
Agreed.
Because he could have done that as well. He could just have taken, okay, the writer is going to go to a cabin in the woods or a little cottage near the seaside somewhere. But no, this is really a very original location for an author to go to. But it works, and it's totally plausible.
Well, and we almost get, we get the Steve Railsback character, the sailor, like he gets introduced in the third act purely because it feels like we need a third act. And I'm like, Nico, we're good. You don't need a third act. But if you were going to do that, I would have liked to have met Steve Railsback sooner. It's like he just gets introduced later. Like, well, that's because Steve's been waiting in the green room all this time. We have to use him. It's like, okay, well, then I guess we got to have a third act with Steve Railsback, who I love, by the way. I think Steve Railsback of Life Force and Helter Skelter, the stunt man, he's terrific. And I'm glad to see him whenever he shows up. But for this movie, it did feel like we're winding it down. I'm like, nope, we're not.
It also feels a bit like, okay, we need an extra character and provide a bit of more body count in the film. But we just needed it
sooner. Although, Wings,
better and
he has that giant sickle, through the whole, that sickle is so huge. It's like,
and we get to see it again in another film.
Yes,
it's a reoccurring motif from Island of Death to the Wind. Yeah. And there's more tricks that Mastorakis, like little tricky elements that keep resurfacing, whether it's a gimmick, whether it's a plot device.
Oh, speaking of gimmicks, Gert, you had something to say about the book cover of Meg Foster's book. In the Wind.
In the Wind, yes, indeed. There's two little Easter eggs in the Wind that would become attached to other movies of Mastorakis. The book cover became the poster of another Mastorakis movies in '88, I think, Bloodstone.
Okay.
And then at some point, her character in The Wind also quotes a line from somewhere that literally says "Nightmare at Noon."
Yep.
Some of the scores.
Yep.
He cleverly reuses in another film. I noticed. We'll talk more about that when we get.
Well, we should actually. This is a good time because I mean, The Wind is where we first see Hans Zimmer's name pop up in the credits.
Yeah, but it's not the first film where Nico worked with him. That was the Zero Boys.
Right. And these came out the same year, but yes, I think Zero Boys was done first.
Yes, and actually it was Stanley Myers that was going to do the score for Zero Boys after the editing or something, or during the shooting already. But then when the film was edited, Stanley introduced Hans to Nico, and from that idea came mixing synths with orchestration for Zero Boys later on. So,
and then Stanley Myers and Hans Zimmer worked together on The Wind. Moving on to Zero Boys, which came out before The Wind, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. But it combines kind of like it's a trio of young men who like playing the paintball wars, and then they and their girlfriends go off to have a weekend in the woods, kind of like your basic Friday the 13th setup, and they have to use their skills against 1, 2, 3, who knows how many.
Unseen.
Yeah, exactly. There's an untold number of assailants out in the woods.
Steve, Larry, and Rip, the Zero Boys, a winning team of survival game champions, ready for a weekend of fun in the wilderness of Southern California. Then all of a sudden, the game is no longer a game. The hunters become the prey. The blood is no longer paint. Strange things start to happen. And then friends drop dead. The time to fight back is now. Zero Boys, dawn of a new breed of heroes.
This was one that you'd include as well, Gut. And what was it about this one that appealed?
Again, I saw it at the same time with The Wind, and it was my first taste of these kind of genre cocktails that he makes. And since it had slasher overtones, I was like, I'll include this one as a double bill to get the first taste of what he does.
Well, I've only watched it a couple of years ago because I was preparing the Offscreen program. So I thought, I should watch a few more of Mastorakis' films. And because I really love slasher movies, I love survival movies, I was so sure I was going to love The Zero Boys. So that was the first one I checked out. And I was a bit disappointed because it didn't work for me. It has so many elements that should work for me. But I thought it was kind of tame and a bit boring. It wasn't very memorable for me. And so when you suggested to do the podcast and that we should talk about The Zero Boys, I had something like, oh yeah, The Zero Boys. I can't remember much about it. So a bit the atmosphere and the shadows and the woods and everything, but that's about it. So I watched it again like a month ago, and now I have the same problem. I can't remember anything.
I mean, I think the premise is interesting.
Yes.
It certainly sets up to be something that has familiar elements that are mixed together in a way that we perhaps haven't seen before. But Gut, you really liked it, yeah?
It's entertaining, amusing, again, to experience the elements that he throws together and makes a 90 minutes feature of it. Because you enter the film and it's got this, like, I mean, you think like, what the hell's going on? It's like a dystopian or a post-apocalyptic Western setting and everybody's shooting each other, but then it's paintball kind of game. Right. So he kind of fools us. And then they go off in the woods, and I kept being on my toes, like he's gonna fool us again, right? With this backwoods survival slasher kind of thing, which it turns into, but he doesn't.
It doesn't fool you.
After that, it's like that serious.
It's exactly that, yeah.
That's interesting. Middle half of the film, we're entering backwoods survival slasher film.
Well, and I got the sense, because Vanessa, I'm also a big slasher fan. I get the sense that maybe he isn't a big slasher fan. He just wanted to try making a slasher.
Yeah, indeed.
Because it doesn't feel like he's all that familiar with how to set up jump scares and how to set up suspense. It's kind of like he's almost like going through the motions of what a slasher would be if the protagonist had guns to defend themselves, as opposed to normal slashers where they either have nothing or they're just finding what they have around them.
Yeah, it's exactly that, because all the elements are there, but he doesn't know how to create suspense with such a film. Absolutely.
Atmosphere, yes, but indeed the tension, suspense isn't always there. He makes room for, he leaves that out, and then instead he puts in explosions quite often. It's like,
yeah, but you don't want it in that type of film.
Yeah, indeed. It doesn't settle for one thing. It tries a lot of things, and the elements on sich, like separate elements, they work. They should work, but throw it again. I mean, you kind of have to decide at some point. And the second thing that I noticed because he did a couple of, this is a slasher-orientated film. He produced also Darkroom. And like you called it a bit, Vanessa, you called it mild or tame. And yes. I realized something else that when watching those type of films, Grandmother's House, also a bit like that. It's like when you don't have anybody like, let's say, Tom Savini to handle the kills, you're gonna fall short in the death scenes. You know, that was my.
I don't know. I think for slasher movies, it's not necessarily about the makeup or the gore effects. It's really on how you create tension and how you do the build-up. That's really what doesn't work here.
Well, but slasher fans from the 80s, they're going to want a bit like that too, huh?
Sure. I mean, of course, if you've got a gore set piece, that's going to help your movie. What I found interesting about this is that the killers are kind of nondescript. Like they feel like, I was like, is that the killer? Like, that's it? Like some guy in tennis shoes and jeans? Like, it doesn't feel memorable. It doesn't feel mysterious. It doesn't feel crazy. It just feels like it's some guy or a couple of guys.
That's true. But on the other hand, what does work is when you see the killers in the beginning, but just as shadows.
Yes. Yeah.
During the night. These are really great images. And that really works, I think. It's only when you do really see them.
Yeah.
That really falls flat.
Let down. I mean, that two elements that really, one really worked, what you just said, like he keeps them like backlit,
yes,
silhouettes. They pose a threat because you know nothing about them. And,
That's great.
And it kind of makes the mistake at some point to show them. And as much as I like seeing Joe Esteves' face in in whatever kind of B movie he went and did, the way he's acting here with all the crazy eyes is so like over the top. It's like, oh my god, it's you start laughing. It's like
would you have preferred Wings Hauser in the role?
Of course, but Wings Hauser, I can't believe he's a nutcase. He's a psycho, unpredictable. If you see Joe Esteves, it's like, oh, poor guy. He's not up there. I mean, he might be even like mentally challenged a bit.
He just needs a therapist.
This guy do so? I mean, with all the elaborate traps. And another interesting element is like they find like in the shed like torture snuff things, you know?
Yep.
My point is, if you see Joe Esteves, it doesn't look like they're that intelligent to put all with the cameras and all. I mean, yeah.
But he's putting a lot of ideas in, but I don't know that he knows how to kind of thread them together into a wholly satisfying film. I think there's a lot of really interesting elements. I think there's a lot of interesting set pieces. And to your point, Vanessa, I think there's some amazing shots. Like I love the scene where two of the characters get caught in like a rope trap and they're caught by their legs. They're hanging from the trees and they're backlit. So you see their silhouettes as they're trying to get down. I was like, this is a really great shot. And I think maybe that's Mastorakis' strength is as a visual artist.
That part is executed quite well.
But also these characters, I mean, they are classic 80s sex comedy, ridiculous, obnoxious teenagers who are sex obsessed. I mean, it just felt like that was very much of that 80s time as well.
Although in its defense, I've seen worse, like obnoxious characters and
I feel like they were just right middle of the road, cliche.
The middle of the road. There you think it's kind of like, no.
And of course, there's also Kelly Maroney in there.
Yes,
from
thank
Night
you,
of the
Vanessa.
Comet and Hell's Kitchen and everything. Yeah.
Because really, if we're going to mention Joe Esteves, we have to talk about Kelly Maroney.
Yeah.
Because she's terrific.
I would say it's a serviceable film. It just doesn't go the extra mile.
And then Nightmare at Noon, 1988, we get another pretty solid cast with Wings Hauser, Kimberly Beck from Friday the 13th Final Chapter, Bo Hopkins, George Kennedy.
Awesome cast.
You headed anywhere in particular?
Nope. Just cross country, long as the ride hose out.
The only way to go takes one of these babies. 7 short days of freedom, I tell you.
Anything else for you today, Charlie?
Steak must have been a little tough.
Our water supply has been contaminated with a toxic, possibly lethal substance.
The only excitement we ever used to have was a couple of Friday night DUIs.
Come on, give me the gun.
Howdy, fellas. Them's pretty lost. What you doing, making a movie?
Must be some kind of weird experiment. One guy patrolling a whole town.
How do you cut off a town from the rest of the world? It's the United States of America, for Christ's sakes.
Did anybody ever hear that this is supposed to be a quiet town?
Fuck you.
Is a great cast. What do we think of the movie?
I like it. It's not my favorite Mastorakis film, but I like it. It's a lot of elements. For me, it's a bit like The Crazies.
Yes.
But mixed with other genre elements. In the beginning, I was like, what? This isn't a Western? This is called Nightmare at Noon? And it's not a Western? What's going on? But yes, there are some Western elements after a while. But yeah. No, it's really more like The Crazies for me, but a good one. Yeah.
It's not like The Crazies. It's more like it's a completely different film thrown with that makes you think of The Crazies.
It's got that Crazies plot aspect of a town going bananas,
And the government being behind it.
But it's so much more than that. That's true. Yeah. And it has a lot more helicopters as well.
So many more helicopters.
That's obsession with helicopters.
And green stuff.
Before we move on, when you say a little town going all crazy, interesting trivia fact that Hauser and Bo Hopkins in 1984, I think, were in another little town going crazy into like toxin-infested zombie people called Mutant.
Yes.
That's a nifty little flick.
From the depths of the earth, through the shrouded mist, it is coming. The final phase of an accident of nature. It is unexplainable, unbelievable, and uncontrollable. You can't see it in the darkness or hear it in the silence, but you can feel its presence and sense the danger.
Don't go out there.
Its time has come. There is no place left to run.
We're gonna get out of here, you understand me? We're gonna get out.
Mankind's deadliest threat would not come from the skies. Mutant.
I agree. I like that movie. That's a fun one, and that shows up on a lot of like the public domain box sets. So folks should go dig out their box sets and be like, "Oh, what? It's right there. I can watch it right now." It's probably also streaming anywhere.
It's also beautifully restored and re-released on physical media. So worth a watch with a score by Richard Band.
Nightmare at Noon. What's our basic premise?
There is a scientist who puts like green stuff into the water supply of a town, and everyone goes crazy.
We don't know that yet from the beginning.
And everyone who goes crazy kills everyone else there. That's more or less it, right?
Yeah. Thing is, we don't know that yet from the beginning, and it's one of the little things that I like about the film. Is like for like at least half an hour, you're like, "What the heck is going on here?"
Right. Because we've got a vacationing couple played by Kimberly Beck and Hauser, and they pick up Bo Hopkins, who's hitchhiking. They end up in this sleepy little town where George Kennedy is the sheriff, and then, as you say, the neighbors start acting a little crazy. They first encounter somebody at a diner who attacks them. The female police officer comes to help. And then we were off to the races of trying to solve this issue because our Kimberly Beck character starts to exhibit symptoms as well. How is this disease being transmitted?
And a little bit by little bit, we kind of know. I mean, you can all a little bit guess already.
Right.
That
well, from the very beginning, we have Brian James's character.
Yeah, the albino government secret official experimenting with high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
Brian James, you know, we know him from Blade Runner, among many other things. But I feel like his character isn't explained much at all. Like, we're not quite sure what's going on with these government agents.
Why he does these things. Yeah.
You know, we don't find out why they put this in the water. We don't find out why he's wasting his own men. Again, it feels a little thin, and it's like, you know what? Let's just get to the helicopter chase. And again, his visuals, because it's shot in and around Moab, Utah, and Canyonlands, it is an extraordinary visual landscape that he is moving across. And having just been out to, I mean, I'm from the West, and so I'm really familiar with that part of the country. And I love the fact that he decided that he wanted to showcase it. And I feel like, kind of to your point earlier, Vanessa, like, I feel like that was one of the reasons why he wanted to make this movie, was so that he could fly helicopters around in Moab.
Yeah.
Mastorakis said something about his co-writer really pushing it to make this film, because it was logistically very, I mean, the biggest thing he did up until then. And now you mentioned the location. It's about the other movies too. You can see all the time that he really puts to good use all the locations. They become a presence in his films mostly, not just the Greek ones, but here in Nightmare at Noon also. They went scouting a lot in advance to to make sure everything fitted the plot and the screenplay. And the helicopter's okay. That's Mastorakis
There's
saying,
a lot of
we have
helicopters
2 of
here.
them now. We're going to make them count. It's like,
well, what's funny is that you've got Bo Hopkins and you've got Brian James, and the helicopters rise up behind each of them, and then they basically just walk away. And it's like, okay, it's helicopter time now. I'm like, did you just like, it's almost like a video game, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I've become these helicopters now. Yes.
It does reflect that, there's a bit of cross-cutting, because then Bo Hopkins and Brian James have their standoff.
Yes.
Brian James biting not the dust, but the green liquid.
Which the green liquid feels like it's right out of, Tromaville.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bright green. And I love the fact that people are like, what's going on? But it's like, when your neighbor is spitting up green liquid out of their mouths, like, something ain't right anymore.
Absolutely. And also there is this Western element in there for sure, especially also if you fast forward to the end with it's the 2 helicopters at noon,
right,
having a standoff.
Yep, absolutely. It is a duel,
It's a duel, absolutely.
But there's also that sense of jokiness. He's always got a sense of humor throughout his films. Like, I think Mastorakis, and if you watch any of the extras, and I will say that Arrow Video has done just an incredible job of providing a lot of supplements. Most of them are provided by Mastorakis himself. He absolutely exhibits a sense of humor, a sense of self-awareness. He's very self-effacing. He's constantly poking fun at himself. Island of Death is the most kind of straightforward, dark, but even that has some humorous elements. But things absolutely have a lighter tone. I don't know that comedy is necessarily his gift, but he definitely likes to have a good time in his movies.
Yes.
But especially with his 80s output, his main aim, you can tell, is to entertain.
Just to entertain, yep.
And make commercial genre films. Like you said, Island of Death stands out as being not that. I would say The Wind is a bit atypical, because it doesn't mix all these crazy entertaining genre elements.
Right.
It goes for a steady atmosphere the whole time.
Yeah, she makes some clever remarks, but that's about Wings Hauser's character is a little bonkers at time. Steve Railsback has a few quips here and there.
Yeah, that's basically the script writing with the dialogue, I think. I mean,
yeah,
there's no physical humor or over the top action stuff going on. So
yeah, I think it is kind of lightweight fare. I think it's absolutely something that you could just kind of have on in the background and enjoy.
Yes.
But I feel like it's interesting that his most unpleasant film is the one that we continue to return back to.
Yeah.
Wrapping things around, final thoughts, Garrett?
Are there any other Mastorakis films that we'd like to name drop?
Yeah, we already name dropped, but I already said Death Has Blue Eyes is definitely one that I really like, even though it's far from perfect. But it's super entertaining, and I love how it combines all the genre elements.
There is a slight complication in the project. The 2 subjects involved are something we did not expect. Bob Kowalski, born in England, served in Vietnam, arrived in Athens the way you know. Chess Guilford, part-time lover, part-time racing driver, and karate expert. If they try to interfere, kill them.
We need your help. Christine and I are involved in a very dangerous situation.
She could control her natural abilities in mental telepathy.
Sounds like science fiction to me.
When 2 powerful minds, 2 mediums get together, there's no limit to their power.
Don't tell me you're scared.
Why? Why did you kill him? There's a bomb on the plane.
Impossible!
There is a bomb on the plane, and her name is Christine.
And another one I really like, but that one he only produced and co-wrote, is Bloodtide, which also takes place in Monemvasia, which is the same location as The Wind.
I've developed quite a bit of an affinity for Bloodtide. Yeah, especially with the restored version. You can, I mean, up until now there were only murky VHS transfers or DVD public domain things floating around. The restoration makes it really a better film, and the making of extras, retrospective on the Blu-ray, just help appreciate that film, and we get to see a better look of the monster, for better or worse.
Before the dawn of civilization, in the early light of man's existence, life was an eternal struggle between good and evil. The ancients knew the way to placate the beast that lurked beneath the eternal sea. Sacrifice. Virgin sacrifice.
It is not often that visitors happen on Cinnarron. You are on Greek soil.
What's going on here, Madeline? I come to this crazy island to look for you.
Why you?
No! And your friend here takes a knife to my throat.
The natives here aren't exactly friendly.
They don't like people to take things out of the water.
It's down there. I saw it. What new evil are you trying to conjure up now?
There is no such thing as new evil. Evil has always been with us. The same evil that you roused from its ancient sleep.
You do your voodoo on your own people! Time is running out for all of us.
There's another film called Blind Date, which is a bit of, again, a mix. It's a murder mystery, so with a stretch, there's a giallo aspect in it, like guess who the killer is. And it mixes, it's also a high-tech thriller. Like when the new technology stuff came up, like Looker, if you've ever seen that.
1981.
And we got the bigger budget films like Brainstorm, also experimenting with...
And it's with Kirstie Alley.
That's right. Kirstie Alley's in Blind Date with Joseph Bottoms.
Yeah.
Showing off in that movie and doing it very well. Really.
And not just her talents.
She was on the verge of becoming big. It's one of those cocktails, like it stumbles a bit, it doesn't work, it doesn't gel all together, but it's quite entertaining seeing it unfold for 90 minutes.
Your blind date is coming. No wonder you're a little nervous. But don't worry. He knows how to have a good time. And no one ever complains. Blind date. You won't be coming home in one piece.
Grandmother's House, you've seen that one, Vanessa?
Yeah, I've seen that too. That's also one he produced. Some interesting ideas, but overall, could have been better.
If you see more and more of this and you see recurring themes, it's kind of, it adds to the pleasure of like spotting, like, okay, it's a Mastorakis film. Again, we have like not one but two twists, and there's an interesting fascination with incest reoccurring in a couple of films, and not explicitly but hinted at.
Every old house has one room that's always locked. This is where the house keeps its secrets. Ghosts of the past and sins long forgotten. This summer, David is snooping around his grandparents' farm. And there's only one door he hasn't opened.
They lied to us then.
Drop the gun, boy.
Grandmother's house. You're invited. Grandmother's house. A Nico Mastorakis production from Omega Entertainment.
As I mentioned earlier, like Arrow Video has really done a great job of getting his work onto physical media. But if you're on stateside, I know like Blind Date and Time Traveler and Terminal Exposure and Ninja Academy, and like all of those are available on Tubi. A lot of Mastorakis' films are available streaming for free on Tubi. So if you're intrigued by this conversation, I highly recommend checking them out on Tubi. And then if you really like them, go grab the Blu-rays from Arrow Video, because then you get all the supplements, because especially the Island of Death Blu-ray is extraordinary. There's like a 4-part films of Nico Mastorakis. There is a 40-minute appreciation by Stephen Thrower. Nico Mastorakis goes back to the locations of Island of Death. So there's a lot of really great things. If you're a fan of that movie, the Arrow Video is absolutely worth picking up.
And they also do a really great job in restoring the films.
Yes.
Well, my favorite pick from the Arrow releases is also Bloodtide, because it's got the audio commentary of the director. And some other special features about the production coming from Mastorakis himself, I think. So it's worthwhile.
And Bloodtide features James Earl Jones. Who else is in that?
Deborah Shelton from Body Double.
Martin Kove is the
That's right, Martin Kove. That's the one I was trying to think of. Pre-Karate Kid. Well, cool. Well, thank you. This was great fun. And among other things, Vanessa also has a book coming out called Meow, which is going to be cats in genre cinema. And Gert and I and Vanessa all worked on that. But it's definitely Vanessa's baby. Track her down on social media. Same thing with Gert. And until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.